Hello, welcome back to the Reflective Space podcast. It's me, Taniya Hussain. Today I'm talking with Stacy Brookman, a resilience and life storytelling expert. Have you ever noticed how some memories just stick to you? Not the normal ones, but the kind that hit you out of nowhere. A certain smell, a tone of voice, and suddenly your heart's racing, like it's all happening again. If you work with trauma as a social worker, therapist, or healer, this might explain why you feel so drained, even when you thought you left work at work. Today, Stacy breaks down why these memories don't play by the same rules, and how writing can actually rewire how they live inside you.
I was in a bad marriage to a very emotionally abusive person. I didn't know what that was at the time at all, but having gone through that, I discovered writing and I discovered how to become resilient. And resilience isn't just pushing through and just buckling down and getting your stuff done. That is not resilience. I discovered you can do that, but then your life is falling apart in other ways, or your body is falling apart in other ways. So to be a resilient doesn't mean just being strong and powering through really tough situations or tough times in your life. Being able to bounce back and bring in that joy in your life in the midst of tough times.
I think resilience is something a lot of social workers and healthcare professionals know about. They see it every day in their work. And I think they obviously usually think it's about toughing it out. But
right.
because they're so used to seeing it, they are usually very resilient within themselves. They've had hard knocks, but they find it really hard to ask for help.
Bystander trauma is just as traumatic. Your brain doesn't recognize the difference. And so it is causing chaos in your brain. So when you experience trauma, whether it's bystander trauma, vicarious trauma, or direct trauma, those memories are actually stored in a different part of the brain than regular memories. And those are the memories that come back to haunt you time and time again. Think about some of the toughest things that you've experienced. Write them down as far as, what did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel? What did you taste? And what did you touch? Use all of the senses. And when you're doing that, because all your experiences that you've had, your tough experiences, are running around in your head, especially if you're like working with clients and you're hearing their tough stories. And you're experiencing, when you do that, vicarious trauma, like just hearing somebody else's traumatic story, or bystander trauma, some people call it. And they hide from you at first, and then maybe a certain smell, or somebody says a certain phrase or piece of music or something, and boom, come right back to stress you out and cause you all kinds of physical and emotional chaos in your body. And when you write those down, you have to find words, first of all, for what's happened to you. Find words for the grief you're feeling for somebody else, or the grief you're feeling for yourself, or the tough things. And yes, it's tough sometimes to recount that. It's going to empty that out of your head and allow you to have the power over that traumatic experience, not that experience to have the power over you. And
I know, as a writer, as a poet, I always found my poetry, when I was really affected by a client, I found that very soothing and healing. It was like that poem was like a witness. So certain clients obviously sometimes affect you a lot more than other clients. So I always remember just seeing that poem on that piece of paper and kind of just being able to kind of allow myself to feel whatever I was feeling really helped. And I just want you to explain a little bit more of how, via the writing, how you can then have power.
There have been a lot of studies, a ton of different studies about writing. In fact, it's called the 2-minute miracle, because writing just 2 minutes a day, maybe in the morning, in a certain way, you've got to write about your feelings, about some of the tough things that have happened to you, can boost your immune system. If you have chronic pain, it can ease chronic pain. Some folks who have had headaches, it's helped relieve those. So there's a lot of studies that point to the physiology, but also the psychology. For instance, when I was going through my traumatic event, which was marriage to a sociopath, and then when you divorce a sociopath, it gets 100 times worse. So my brain was in chaos. I was fuzzy. I was trying to keep the wheels on the bus going, trying to power through. And what I was really doing, accepting this abuse. Really, honestly, I was just accepting it. I could have stepped out at any time in the 10 years. I did not. I chose not to. I thought what I could do would be to help and fix it. And that's not what happened with a sociopath or narcissist. But if you are going through any of this, your brain is in chaos. Sometimes you are forgetting things. Your brain is foggy, or you're in the middle of something and you forgot what you're doing. Just fall in bed, just exhausted. And it's because those memories are affecting you, whether you realize it or not. So writing down, like I said, to write the senses. What did you feel? What did you taste? What did you touch? What did you smell? What did you see? At that moment, pinpoint one moment in time and start writing, not even sentences, just snippets about all of those sentences. That starts coming back, and then you can release that onto the page, because your brain is, okay, it's big, it's awful, it's horrible. It feels like it's happening to you, but it happened to somebody else, because you're getting those stories from your clients or whatever. Vicarious trauma, your brain doesn't know the difference, and so it's trying to protect you. And what you really need to do is write it down in black and white. And when you do that, your brain says, oh, I get that. Okay. And you are much more clearer. Okay, this is not happening to you. You don't need to erase all the inflammation in your body. You're not in a fight or flight symptom right now. It's okay. And you can release that onto the paper, and then you never have to show it to anybody if you don't want to. But it's something that is definitely healing.
It's like when it comes to vicarious trauma, and when you've been totally burned out by the work that, social workers and healthcare professionals do, it is really fuzzy. What is your feeling, and what is the client's feeling? What is your experience, and what is the client's experience? It all gets like really enmeshed. And majority of the time, like you're saying, you're not even conscious of that. And I know a lot of social workers and healthcare professionals, one of the reasons why they actually even start the work, they embark on these brilliant, wonderful professions to being so giving, is sometimes they themselves have had a really dark experience, whether that's sexual abuse, whether that is narcissistic abuse, whether that is domestic violence, whether that is having somebody very close to them die of a terminal illness. Usually, not all the time, but majority of the time, they've experienced a real dark pain, and they want to reach out and be there for someone else when nobody had been there for them. But then in helping others, they forget about their own pain, and it gets buried.
It gets buried, but it's still there until you write and get it out. That's the beauty. In fact, practically nobody gets out of childhood without some sort of emotional scars and wounds. And we take those experiences with us into adulthood, and that's how we operate in the world. Dr. Dan Allender and the Allender Center does a lot of work with that. And let's say something happened to you as an 8-year-old or a 16-year-old or 14-year-old. You take that 8-year-old mind at that moment with you, and you make an agreement with yourself. I am never going to trust an adult, or I'm never going to do this, or whatever that agreement is. You take that into adulthood, and it affects the way you operate. For me, it was my voices should not be heard. I need to stand in the corner. You're not worthy of being heard. And this is what I discovered by writing. I don't raise my hand. I never raised it in kindergarten, grade school, high school, adulthood. I didn't say, no, that's not right. And I only found it at age 45 through writing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't like that life theme. That's awful. I thought I was a professional woman. But no, when I look back, that's the pattern. I didn't stop and say, that's not right. because I had pulled the wool over my eyes and I had made that agreement. My voice should not be heard. But once I started writing and I found it, oh my gosh, I am shouting from the rooftops.
By writing, you tend to then rewrite the patterns in your brain, some of those neural pathways.
Right.
Start rewriting your story.
You can, absolutely. You're really discovering yourself. You're discovering what you're really all about. And so once you discover that, then you can change it. You can rewrite your story.
And there is a lot of shame and embarrassment. I know I've worked with women and girls in narcissistic. Can it be easier to move from these feelings, to take some action, and to get lasting change?
Yeah, absolutely. This is why I think writing is so good. It's so universal, and it can be so private. So part of that shame is I don't want other people to see how bad I am or that I am not worthy. I don't want other people to see that and know that. Writing down your feelings. And when you pinpoint those critical points in your life and you start writing about them in private, and this is not your 8th grade English teacher writing. You don't have to worry about grammar. It is just free writing, which you don't even use capitals or punctuation, nothing. You just start writing and keep on writing or typing. And what that does is it allows you privately to get that mess out and acknowledge it, look at it and say, oh my gosh, that's not true. That's my 8-year-old self talking about that. And that's what I've been thinking all along. Oh, wow. I'm much better than that. I deserve that promotion, or I deserve to be happy. And so all of this chaos is in your head. And once you get it down in black and white, it's like a third person or a sounding board. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just wrote that. That's not true. But I must be believing it somewhere because I've written it. And so you get that clarity. That's one of the ways you can do it just with yourself. The next step would be share it with somebody close to you who believes in you, who's your cheerleader. And if you don't, find a writing group that you can share it with, because writing groups are usually very supportive.
You've talked a lot about how writing helps you navigate and process your feelings when you get traumatized by the work that social workers and healthcare professionals do. It all gets really enmeshed and tangled, and you don't know if it's your client's feelings or even what you're feeling.
Your brain doesn't know the difference.
Yes, the kind of work I do with my clients, a lot of the time those feelings get housed in your body and they get lodged in a part of your body. And I use a lot of visualization to get to grips with the client, to get grips with how does it look like, how does it feel, how does it taste, what kind of texture is it, and then it gets a little bit unmeshed and
entangled. So first of all, you do not have to be a writer to write about your life stories. That's, like I said, it's not 8th grade English. Nobody's going to penalize you. It doesn't matter if you're a really horrible writer. This is still going to help you. Embracing your story. Embrace that you have a story. Embrace that you really should get it down on paper. And the next step, enabling the story, is allowing it to speak to you by crafting those stories into, okay, here's this part of my life, or here's what's happened here. Let me explore that a little bit more, because obviously it's come up. Let me dig into it a little bit more. And again, they're still messy. They're still ugly. Yes. This is not about something that you're going to put into a book yet, unless you want to. But then it's going to be ugly first draft. It is called the 2-minute miracle, but I encourage people to free write. Get up in the morning, spend 10 minutes free writing. Just whatever's in your head, if it's your grocery list or whatever, your brain's going to keep throwing out junk. But eventually, if you keep writing, don't lift your pen from the paper, don't lift your hands from the keyboard, keep typing. Eventually, those golden nuggets of your subconscious are going to come out. Once you experience that, it's really amazing. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't stop writing. I can't stop. It's amazing. And you get all of that out. I do encourage people, and that's easy to get started. Just pick a moment in time, a point in your life, a pivotal moment, a graduation, a birth, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be the worst moment. Just find something to start writing, because your stuff will come up. It'll get there. But then you can start to polish it if you choose. And so not everything that you write is going to be shareable. Not everything is going to be shareable right away. You write it, all the junk, and then from there you pull out the golden nuggets and you can craft it into a story. But you've got to get that junk out of your head first. And then start taking another moment in time and start writing about that. I tell people, make a list of 15 or 20 turning points in your life. And then make a list of maybe 5, 10, 15 conflicts you've had in your life. Then make a list of 5 or 10 things that desires that you've had in your life. And when you look across all 3 of those lists, is there anything that stands out that's on 2 or all 3 of those? That's where you need to start writing. And the beautiful thing is you are going to heal as you go along. And here's what I tell people. What if somebody is about to go through what you're going through or what you've gone through? What if somebody is also having the same doubts, fears, stressors, all of that sort of thing, and your writing could help them? Wouldn't you want to share that? And
so here's the big takeaway. Trauma memories don't just live in your mind, they get stuck in your body. And when you're a helper, your brain doesn't filter what's yours from what's theirs, but writing, raw, messy, just for you writing, is like hitting the eject button. It moves those memories from chaos to a place you can actually handle. Try it this week. 2 minutes, no rules, just see what happens. If this episode resonated, share it with another helper who needs to hear it. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. Take care.